1st of October 2011, and the OGAE UK's annual convention is just finished. But we have one more interview we're going to do, and this is with one of the guests who was on the guest list here. He's not a singer, but he's a very important person because he was the senior producer of the Eurovision Song Contest 2000. And that is a big pleasure for us now to speak to Peter Lundin from Sweden. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Peter, you were the senior producer of the Eurovision Song Contest in the Globen in Stockholm in 2000. How did you get that job?
Well, I had been working for some time with Svante Stockselius, who later became head of the Eurovision Song Contest, and supplying programs to him over a number of years. And he was then, when Charlotte Nilsson won in Jerusalem in '99, he was head of entertainment for Swedish television. And he called me, and he said, from Jerusalem, he called me and said, right after the show, and he said, I want you to do this next year's show. And I said, you mad? And he said, no, I don't think so. And eventually we found a way of getting me available for really almost a year's work. With short notice.
But what were you doing beforehand as a job?
Well, before that, I've been doing large entertainment shows, gala performances, award shows, and charity events and that sort of thing. So I've been working a lot with the large formats.
Yeah, then you must have been very successful if the choice fell on you in 2000 to prepare the Eurovision Song Contest.
They must have thought so anyway.
When actually did you start to prepare the contest?
Well, the preparation began really at the end of June, so only a month after that, after the previous Eurovision Song Contest there in Israel. We started meeting with looking at arenas. We were quite sure that we were going to want to be in the Globe Arena, but we went through a fairly extensive search anyway, and contacted all potential suppliers of arena services, and then of course we had a very stiff task, which was that we could not, SVT, the production budget of SVT was completely committed, and it's not possible for, in small countries with fixed budgets, can't just suddenly find the sort of money that would be necessary for the kind of ambition that we had anyway. And so we had to find the money from external sources. And that meant starting early and trying to find new ways of creating revenues that we hadn't been used to before.
So how did you do that? How did you get the money to do it?
Well, the first thing that we did was to say what happens when you start. Or when you actually do the show, that the last 2 weeks you build for 1 week and you rehearse for the second week, and then you do the show on the last Saturday. And so we knew that we were going to rehearse all week, the last week. And so we thought, well, why don't we just make all those rehearsals public rehearsals, and we'll sell tickets. But at the same time, SVT can't risk losing money. So they said, well, can we farm out the responsibility to someone else? So we went to the arena, and the arena said, or we said to the arena, we want to make these 5 or 6 rehearsals, and you can get the right to sell those tickets and take the profits.
Amazing.
And instead of that, that way we avoided having to pay the arena charges. So we swapped the arena charges 2 weeks for the right for them to sell all the tickets. And they made money, so they were happy afterwards.
But you also probably had a lot of sponsors that brought money as well to pay the contest.
Yes, you're allowed billboard sponsors in the Eurovision Song Contest, even if you're a public broadcaster, of course. And so we had that in those revenues. And then we had the revenues, of course, for the transmission rights of all of the 25 countries that were transmitting the show, plus some further countries that we knew we always have, like Canada and Australia and Japan. So we had about a third of the necessary budget, and the other 2/3 we found from external sources in that same way. And then through technical barters with suppliers for end credits, and all of the hospitality we swapped with the city of Stockholm. And so they made all of all of the entertainment for all of the visiting delegations and so forth. And they gave us all of the outdoor advertising and so forth. So we were able to sort of farm out all of these sources.
I hope you don't mind me asking, but how much did the 2000 Eurovision Song Contest cost?
It cost 65 million Swedish crowns.
Which is in euros?
It's about 6.5 million euros.
Wow, that's amazing. And how many people were involved in setting it up? How many employees were needed for the television shows without having the volunteers that we have nowadays to take care of all the guests? But how many people were in your team, basically?
I would say about between 400 and 500. In addition, volunteers of several hundred to handle the audiences and so forth.
Chris?
Yes. Do you think that the 2000 contest was like a landmark in the history of the Eurovision Song Contest? Up till then, venues had been kind of relatively small, but 2000 it was really big, and from then on we've had very big venues. Do you feel like you've kind of changed the course of the Eurovision Song Contest in that way?
Yes, I suppose we changed it because I think that we were forced to be in a big arena, and we were able to find these keys to the funding. But we also wanted to try and depart a little bit and make it a larger thing. It was the change of the millennium. It was going to be the first Eurovision Song Contest in the 2000, and I think that it became important for us to really try new things. So we made new ideas for the postcards. We changed graphics quite dramatically, and we did a very extensive pre-production, and we took. So we invested. We felt in the best talent that we had available, and everybody delivered.
Yes, it's a brilliant show.
Were you facing any difficulties in setting up or the preparations of the Eurovision Song Contest, or is there any particular country delegation that was difficult?
No, I wouldn't say that any country delegation was difficult. There was some political problem between the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia and a proper Macedonia, if you like, or the Greek part. But it didn't really have anything to do with us. But it became sort of it became a problem, and finally we had to say, well, are you going to do the show or aren't you going to do the show? But other than that, I wouldn't say that there was anything specific. With the possible exception of the postcards, we were badly criticized or harshly criticized for the postcards, and the reason was that we hadn't anticipated that the commentators from all of the stations really have to. They need room to present the next act for their audience, and we had made too much content in these postcards. It was overambition, I think. I still think they're great, but I can understand why we caused disappointment, which we had. It was quite unintentional.
Then you saw probably the Eurovision Song Contest from this year, 2011, in Germany.
Yes.
What did you think of the setup of the show?
Well, I have to tell you that when I saw the opening of that show, I thought I would die to have made an opening like that. It was absolutely fantastic. It was the greatest opening of a TV entertainment event I've ever seen.
Is there any special advice you would be giving to Azerbaijani television, how to do the Eurovision Song Contest?
No, I couldn't possibly advise them, because I don't know what their conditions are and what, you know, what they're facing, and I hope that they will find the way to do what is best for them. But I think they might find it. The contribution that won was a Swedish contribution with Swedish, so I should imagine that if they wanted to, they could probably get some assistance in technical and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't presume to tell them what they should do.
Well, we've seen in previous Eurovision Song Contests that Swedish television is actually helping with the stage management and more. Like in Ukraine, they were I think in Istanbul as well. We always see Henrik on the stage. How come that this is always working for Sweden? And we had one time only German television and Norwegian television did it themselves.
Yes, and Danish as well. When Denmark had won in Stockholm, Denmark wanted to do that show by themselves, and they did it by themselves too. We had meetings with them to share our experiences, but we didn't. They wanted to make the show for themselves, and they did very well, I thought. But then came Estonia and Latvia and so forth, and the Ukraine and Serbia as well, I think.
Yes.
And Istanbul, as you said. And I think, in a sense, we might have been a bit trend-setting with this show of 2000, because now that I look back and looking at the shows now, there's still traces of what we did back in 2000 in the style of production, in the style of scenery, of lighting, and the manner and the execution seems to come out of from the same school, which is natural, because a lot of those people that we used in Stockholm are still doing this. And frankly, I would think it might be a good idea now to sort of, for someone to go in, like I think in a way that you did in Germany last year, and do something in a fresh way. Because it'll be same, you know, and in the long run, it's not good.
Yeah.